Forgive your dying daughter. I have but a few moments to live. My native soil drinks my blood. I expected to deliver my country, but the fates would not have it so. I am content to die. Pray forgive me. Emily. These are the final words of a Union soldier, a 19-year-old woman known only as Emily, who, during the Civil War, disguised herself as a man to join the drum corps of a Michigan regiment. During the battle for the city of Chattanooga, Emily was mortally wounded, and while her true sex was revealed, her full name remains a mystery. Over the 245 years since the birth of the United States of America, thousands of women have sacrificed their lives in defense of our country. Their names are forever etched in the hearts and minds of their loved ones, and as long as their names are spoken aloud, they will never be forgotten. Ellen May Tower. Spanish-American War. The first U.S. Army nurse to die on foreign soil. Ruth Landon, World War I. American Red Cross nurse killed by shell fire. U.S. Army nurse Alida E. Lutz. World War II. The first U.S. military woman to die in a combat zone. Ensign Constance R. Esposito, Korean War. Killed along with 17 of her fellow Navy Corps nurses. First Lieutenant Sharon Ann Lane, Vietnam, the only U.S. military woman to die from enemy fire. Major Marie Therese Rossi Caton, Gulf War. Sergeant Jeanette L. Winters, Operation Enduring Freedom, the first female Marine killed in a hostile fire zone. Second Lieutenant Emily J. T. Perez, Operation Iraqi Freedom, the first female African American officer in U.S. military history to die in combat. Marine Sergeant Johanny Rosario Pichardo and Sergeant Nicole G. were killed at the Kabul airport during the withdrawal of Afghanistan. There has been no war in human history that has not touched the lives of women in equal measure to the men who claim the title of warriors. It is with deep gratitude that I dedicate this episode of the Aquitaine Project to all of the courageous women who sacrificed their lives in service to the United States of America.
You've planted your dreams. It's time to release. No more fear. No more fear. Surrender in her. Trust you won't fall. Time to fly. Time to fly.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Aquitaine Project. I'm Marlo Mead, your host, guide, and fellow traveler on a journey of self-discovery. And on this Memorial Day, we will recognize and honor the lives of women who throughout our history have sacrificed their lives in service to the United States of America. So, if you're ready to step into the light of some pretty remarkable women, and learn a little, grow a little, laugh a little, cry a little, and shine a lot, you're in the right place.
Free your soul.
It's not easy being a woman in the military. Never has been and probably never will be. But that hasn't stopped countless women from serving in every branch of the United States Armed Forces. U.S. women's military history is filled with women who broke barriers and blazed trails so later generations could follow. Imagine being the first women to step forward, to raise their hands and say, "Yes, I will serve my country." Well, to be clear, some of the first women had to pretend to be men in order to answer the call of duty, such as Deborah Sampson, who went by the name of Robert Shurtleff, the first woman to join the U.S. Army during the American Revolutionary War, and Cathay Williams, the first known African American woman in the military who went by the name of William Cathay during the Civil War. She is also the only known female Buffalo soldier. Yes, there have been many, many, many women firsts in our military's history. Yet, amidst all the accomplishments and progress women have made, there are the sadder and more somber firsts that are a natural consequence of these hard-fought-for advancements. Since the Revolutionary War, thousands of women have died in military service. Causes range from illness and disease to plane crashes and hostile fire. According to the most recent Defense Casualty Analysis System statistics, 173 women have died during the War on Terror, including this episode's Brightlighter, Army Specialist Lori Ann Piestewa, the first Native American woman to die on foreign soil in combat, and the first woman in the U.S. military killed in the Iraq War. Army Specialist Piestewa died in service to her country, leaving behind 2 small children and a family and a community who loved her. Through her service and sacrifice, she teaches us what it means to live a life committed to something bigger than ourselves. Even before the United States of America officially came into being, and continuing right up to today, women from different races, ethnicities, religions, and backgrounds have served in a wide variety of roles in the military. And like so many women in our nation's history, Native American women first supported U.S. military efforts as nurses. According to history, the earliest documented Native American women in the U.S. military were 4 Lakota nuns who served during the Spanish-American War as nurses. During World War I and World War II, hundreds of Native American women served, including Minnie Spotted Wolf of the Blackfeet Nation, who became the first Native American woman to enlist in the Marine Corps. Native American and Indigenous women also served in Korea and Vietnam. Joining the service in 1986, Sergeant First Class Micheline Bigman of the Absaroka tribe in Montana served 22 years in the Army, including 2 tours in Iraq as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. So, when Lori Ann Piestewa, a member of the Hopi tribe, enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2001 at the age of 22, she was following in the footsteps of hundreds of Native American women who have bravely worn the uniform before her. Lori Ann grew up in Tuba City, Arizona, a border town between the Hopi and Navajo reservations, and carried with her her own military lineage. She was the daughter of a Vietnam veteran and the granddaughter of a World War II veteran. She grew up believing in the importance of community and had a strong sense of duty to the people around her. Even at a young age, she knew what it meant to be part of a team. When she was 8 years old, her Little League softball team went to the championship finals. The day before the game, Lori Ann took a ball to the face in practice, breaking her nose. Her family tried to convince her to sit out the game, but she insisted on playing because her team needed her, and she refused to let them down. Lori's team went on to win the game, in big part to her desire to put her team first. It was this deeply ingrained sense of teamwork and dedication that would become a hallmark of her military career. Lori Ann's own interest in the military began in high school, where she served as a commander in the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, known as JROTC, and she had plans of going to college, but life had other plans. In her senior year of high school, Lori got pregnant. She married her high school boyfriend, the father of her baby, and graduated from high school early. She moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where her new husband was stationed. While in North Carolina, they had a second child, but their marriage began to deteriorate, and they separated. So, Lori Ann packed up her 2 young children and moved back home with her parents, where she could take time to figure out what was best for herself and for her family. Remembering her time in junior ROTC, she began considering her own Army career as a more serious option. She had no money for college, but she knew taking the military route was one way to get her college degree. But her children were her first priority, and she knew the Army could give them a secure future. As a child, Lori Ann had been given the Hopi name White Bear Girl. Now, as a full-grown mama bear, she was determined to fend for her children and help support her parents. On March 30th, 2001, Lori Ann Piestewa left for basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. 2 years later, a familiar childhood scenario would replay itself on a military base in Texas, this time without the fairy tale ending. Lori Ann was assigned to the Army's 507th Maintenance Company at Fort Bliss, Texas. She and her roommate, 19-year-old Private Jessica Lynch, became close friends. In January 2003, the 507th received word that they would be deployed to Iraq. This war would be the first where women would actively participate in combat units. At the time, Lori Ann was still recovering from shoulder surgery and was supposed to remain at Fort Bliss. Knowing her roommate was anxious about the upcoming deployment and wanting to stay with her unit, true to her nature, Lori Ann petitioned and argued her way into deployment. She knew it was dangerous. She knew the risks, but she wanted to be in a position where she could help her unit, to help her team, the same way she had when she was 8 years old and refused to let her softball team down. On February 17, Lori's parents drove down to see their daughter off to Iraq. On that day, she did a television interview with her family where she said, "It's very important knowing that my family is well taken care of." And, with a smile, she said, "I'm ready to go." It would be the last time they saw their daughter Lori Ann alive. On March 23, 2003, 3 days after arriving in Iraq, the 507th was on a convoy mission carrying supplies when they were given inaccurate instructions and made a wrong turn, missing their checkpoint. Lori Ann was driving a Humvee in the back of the convoy, which was headed into a hostile town. The convoy was ambushed. Reports indicate Private First Class Piestewa drove through the ambush, picking up her best friend Jessica Lynch, whose truck had broken down, along with other fellow soldiers, including Shoshana Johnson. In an attempt to get her team to safety while taking heavy fire, her Humvee was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade, killing 2 soldiers and Lori Ann's sergeant. Piestewa, Lynch, and Specialist Shoshana Johnson, who would become yet another first in a long line of U.S. women's military history as the first Black American female prisoner of war, along with 4 others, were taken prisoner and held in an Iraqi hospital where Private First Class Piestewa died of her wounds. She was 23 years old. After her death, Lori Ann was awarded the Purple Heart, the Prisoner of War Medal, and posthumously promoted to the rank of Specialist. She never set out to be a hero. Her deep-seated belief in helping others and supporting and protecting her team inspired her actions on that day. She died doing what soldiers do, defending her fellow soldiers and her country. In an interview after Lori Ann's death, her oldest brother Wayland said, "My sister is a warrior because she did the right thing, the honorable thing, going to Iraq when she didn't have to because she felt it was the ethical and moral thing to do. That's what being a warrior is all about, doing what's right even when it's difficult and means sacrifice." Specialist Lori Ann Piestewa teaches us through her life and her death the importance of committing to something bigger than ourselves. We've all heard it before. Many of us have probably even said it in one context or another. But what does it mean to be part of something bigger than ourselves? To some, it may mean working for a common cause towards a greater good. To others, it's about finding meaning in their lives by foregoing individual short-term gains in favor of collective long-term gains. How we connect to this idea of something bigger can take many forms. It could be our family, our community, local or global, our religion or faith, or our job. A February 15, 2020 Psychology Today article titled "Happiness or Meaning? What Do You Want for Your Life?" identifies different components and dimensions related to how we define our place in the world and how we connect to and influence the bigger picture. One key idea from the article stood out for me. Our sense of being part of something bigger than ourselves involves meaningful action. What we do, Our actions are important to ourselves and to others. I believe this applies to every area of our lives. For example, if my bigger than self is family, my actions have a direct effect on the people closest to me. Am I setting a good example for my children? Are my actions and words in alignment? Remember the saying, do as I say, not as I do. Am I keeping my promises and fulfilling my obligations? Am I being the best wife, partner, mother, sister, or friend I can be? Am I taking care of myself in ways that allow me to be fully present in the lives of those I love? If my bigger than self is community, be it my city or town or the global community, am I taking action to support the efforts I'm involved in? Am I committing enough of my time and energy to help make changes that can affect the lives of others? Am I stepping up and speaking out where I'm most needed? If my bigger than self is work or my career, am I taking meaningful action to continue to learn and grow in my profession? Am I working to keep myself and my coworkers connected to the mission and vision of the organization? Am I mentoring and coaching younger or less experienced people on my team so they can continue to grow and learn also? Are my actions contributing to the broader social and economic well-being of the company? If my bigger than self is my religion or spirituality, am I living in a way that reflects my belief that I am connected to something larger than myself, whether it's God, Goddess, the universe, the source, or the force? Am I a good steward of the tenets of my belief? Do I stand firm in my spirituality, even when it might not be easy or convenient? Do I take time to reconnect with my higher power? So many questions. I know. And usually it would be my pleasure to offer up possible answers to these questions. But I can't, because today, sisters, you are the only ones with the answers. But I will tell you this. I believe the answers to these questions just might help us realize that being part of something bigger than ourselves is the whole reason we're here. Lori Ann Piestewa knew, as an 8-year-old little girl, that being part of the Little League softball team meant being part of something bigger than herself. As a 22-year-old single mother and daughter, she knew being part of a family, part of her Hopi tribe and community, meant taking actions that would provide for those she loved. And as a soldier in the United States Army, she knew, like all the women who came before her, that belonging to something bigger than herself could mean sacrificing her life for her unit, her fellow soldiers, and her country. In 1863, in a cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, President Lincoln famously equated the deaths of the Union soldiers who died during the Civil War with having given the last full measure of devotion. For many, this is what Memorial Day is all about, remembering those who have sacrificed their lives in service to their country. For me, the day also serves as a celebration of the lives and legacies of those who have made that ultimate sacrifice. In 2003, in a town in Arizona bordered by the Hopi and Navajo reservation, friends and family gather on a porch. The fence in front of the home is decorated with yellow ribbons, yellow balloons, uplifting messages, and flowers. A sign with the picture of Lori Ann, proud mother, daughter, sister, member of the Hopi tribe, and soldier in the United States Army, hangs in the center of all the outpouring of love and condolences. Lori's death, as did her life, had far-reaching implications on her local community, on the state of Arizona, and the country she served. On April 17, 2003, Arizona officially changed the name of Squaw Peak to Piestewa Peak. Since her death, the Grand Canyon State Games have held an annual Lori Piestewa National Native American Games, which brings participants from across the country. A plaque bearing her name is located at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico and at Fort Bliss, Texas. She has also been memorialized with a plaque and ceremony at Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial in La Jolla, California. Her death led to a rare joint prayer gathering between members of the Hopi and Navajo tribes. If you ask Lori's family about her sacrifice, they will say, and I quote, "Our family is proud of her. She is our hero. We are going to hold that in our hearts. She will not be forgotten. It gives us great comfort to know she is at peace right now." End quote. Lori's roommate and dear friend Jessica Lynch would tell us, "My hero is my friend Lori, who died in Iraq, but set an example for a generation of Hopi and Native American women and little girls everywhere about the important contributions just one soldier can make in the fight for freedom." Lori Ann has been gone for 19 years, yet she is still remembered in the hearts and minds of her family and friends. But her death, as tragic as it was, is not her legacy. Lori's life spoke to her commitment to others and her desire to contribute to the world, and while her body is buried at the Hopi Indian Cemetery in Tuba City, Arizona, her spirit lives on in her 2 children, in her community, and in her brothers and sisters in arms. In honor of this bright lighter who gave the last full measure of devotion in service to our country, let's challenge ourselves to find it within ourselves to connect with and embrace a life dedicated to something bigger. Why I love this woman. As I was researching Lori Ann's story and the many women who came before and after her, who chose a path that ended with their sacrifice in the service of others, I was struck by the many faces that looked out at me from over the centuries. Some jovial and smiling, as if they had a secret that could only be shared by a unique sisterhood of women who served in the military. Others were stern and serious, all business, as if they knew the trails they blazed would require every ounce of bravery and determination they could muster in the face of incredible odds. So many women with so many stories to tell. I was so entranced by these women. I was certain I had found my next career as a women's military history storyteller. Who knows, I just may follow that path one day to see where it leads. But when I look upon pictures of Lori Ann, I see a smile that can light up a barracks, a calmness that knows that life is sacred, freedom is sacred, and our duty to protect those we love, our families and friends, our way of life, our homeland, may require sacrifice on our part. I see a readiness to give herself over to something bigger than herself, as she had her entire life. Her courage and selflessness exemplify the very best of who we are. For me, she is the bright lighter who teaches us that death is not the end of our story when we commit our lives to something bigger than ourselves. In honoring Lori Ann, we honor all who have given their lives in service to our country. On a personal note, and in honor of this Memorial Day, I would like to share with you the words, thoughts, and feelings of some of the very special women in my life who have worn the uniform and served in the U.S. military. My deepest gratitude for their willingness to contribute to this episode. As a veteran, when I think about Memorial Day, I feel blessed that I was able to serve my country, and though I made sacrifices, mine was not the ultimate sacrifice that so many men and women bravely made before me. I am so grateful to have been part of the military because it has taught me the true value of family by blood and by choice. I am honored and grateful for our men and women who serve and who have served this country, and will remember all those who paved the way for the life I am living now. Aaliyah Bench, Senior Airman, United States Air Force veteran. Women have been joining the military as women since Loretta Perfectus Walsh in 1917, though until relatively recently we were barred from combat situations. There are dozens of honorable women who have given their lives in many ways, including Lori Piestewa, who died in captivity. Though we've served in many ways, the constant changes to what is deemed acceptable for women in the military have led to an increased possibility of dying in a combat situation. The first woman I know of that died in combat was a woman known only as Emily in 1863, who passed as a young man to serve. It's easy to remember the latest lives lost, but Memorial Day is about all of them. All of the men and women who have courageously given their lives in the fight to protect our country, freedom, and the freedom of others. The women who came before my time in service, whether passing as a man or as themselves, made it possible for me to be an airman, and I will never have anything but the utmost respect for them. Staff Sergeant Retired Dickover, United States Air Force. Memorial Day often feels like a very festive time for those who haven't served. There are barbecues and sales on mattresses. If you go to church the Sunday before, the pastor will surely ask you to stand. But then, just like the title of the day assumes, we share a memory for just a day. On Memorial Day, remember not to forget. We servicemen and women signed up, yes, to give our lives. Many have come home to give their lives to the street. Remember that when at the age of 17 or 18 we signed up to fight, we made that decision because the rigorous military life was a better choice than the one we had. Remember those who were drafted, rightly or wrongly, were stripped of their agency and spit back out in their hometowns with little regard to restoration. For all my ladies who went against the grain to enlist, remember this day how beautiful your lack of convention truly was. Remember that same fire we walked through to get in, we can walk through to get out, to claim what is ours. My service cast me to the depths of my soul. Fortunately, I have resumed wholeness. Recovery will be held in my memory. This Memorial Day, ask an 18-year-old me to sign the dotted line again. I'd remember the passion, the purpose, and say yes. We say, Happy Memorial Day. On such a somber occasion, there lies the point. Many have died for this special occasion, yet I wish nothing but happiness upon this nation. Staff Sergeant, Retired Melissa Parker Fisher, United States Air Force. To learn more about Specialist Lorianne Piestewa, visit theaquataineproject.com and click on her picture on the episode page. There you'll find links and resources about the life and service of this honorable Brightlighter who sacrificed her life for something bigger than herself. You'll also find resources about the amazing history of U.S. women in the military, as well as links to learn more about the importance of discovering your own something bigger than. Don't forget to connect with me on the Aquitaine Project Facebook group, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Until next time, my Brightlighters, remember those in uniform serving today and those who have served and died in the past. Let's shine bright as we honor them today and every day.